Hello. Hey guys. Alright, so this video is all about how I studied, how I prepared, how I passed the NCLEX in 75 questions. Went in there, got her done. Alright, so this is just a little bit about what I did. Now, you can take it, you can use it. I think that a lot of it might be helpful to you, but just know that everyone studies a little bit differently. Some things work for some people while other things work for other people. So just take what you can use and use it to help you and your success with the NCLEX. I hope you learned something. I hope you like it. And yeah, let's get into the video. Hello. So, I think I'm going to bring you guys with me today. So, I really want to record a video, but I don't know what to record. Hello guys, that's my jam. Seeing how this background makes is it giving you everything. Hello. Alright, so welcome. So basically for the NCLEX, what I did, I'm going to start off by talking about Kaplan. Now Kaplan is the first NCLEX review program that I used to prepare for the NCLEX. So if you haven't already watched my Kaplan video, which was actually recorded, and this was all before I even passed the NCLEX, take a look at that and see what I talked about in there. A lot of it was really helpful. I don't want to repeat myself and say the same things that were in the video. Yes, watch that video. I'll leave the link down below for you guys to do that. So a little background information. I took my NCLEX on June 26th, and I found out that I passed the morning after at like 9:30 a.m. So I have another video up about my live NCLEX reaction results. That's another video. I have the link down below. You can watch that and see how I prepared for the day of, me driving there, me after, and then me the morning of finding out and crying like a big baby, and then telling my parents, which was pretty funny. I tried to surprise them. So those are two other videos that you can watch below. I'll leave the link. So first things first, back to Kaplan. So what really helps me is backdrop, make it short, the 3-day in-person NCLEX review. Kaplan instructor comes out to your school or another school in your area, and you sit in and you basically just practice questions all day, and they help you figure out how to answer the question and how to use the decision tree. Speaking of the decision tree, this is a little printout that I had while studying. So basically Kaplan's decision tree has 5 steps. First step, it is, can you identify the topic of the question? Then it's whether it's an assessment or implementation. Then you apply Maslow's, and then you do ABCs, and then you want to figure out the outcome of whatever choice you made. So that's basically Kaplan's decision tree. And then there's another paper, and it's who do you see first. So you want to consider unstable versus stable, unexpected versus expected, your ABCs, which is airway, breathing, circulation, acute versus chronic, and actual versus potential, as in risk factors. And then they give you another paper of NCLEX traps. So don't ask why, don't leave the patient, don't persuade the client, do not say don't worry, don't pass the buck, which means don't just give your job off to someone else, don't read into the question, and don't do nothing. So a lot of questions would be like, continue to monitor, when you really need to do something. Stay away from those answers. So then we have therapeutic communication tips. They give you do's and don'ts, and then rules for delegation, which is very important. You need to know how to delegate. I felt like that was very important to know. So Kaplan, basically, I'm just going to sum it up. I'll leave my scores down below on everything that I got on the Kaplan question trainers, the practice test, the diagnostic test, and the readiness test I took before, and all the CATs, which are the computer adaptive tests that Kaplan has you take. So I feel like my scores were average, but I was able to see which areas I was weak in and which areas that I was pretty strong in. And luckily I was really strong in management of care, which is 20% of the NCLEX. If you look at the NCLEX blueprint, you can go on NCSBN on the website and it'll tell you like the percentages for each category. And then they also have a test plan, which is what I used as well. I've read the entire test plan and it just gives you like a little bit of tips when answering stuff. So I suggest that you do look at the test plan. It's really important to know what's going to be on the test. I mean, they make the test and they're giving you the test plan to look at, so it doesn't hurt to look at it. They want you to get 65s on basically question trainers 1 through 3, and they want you to get 65% on question trainers 4 and 5, which I did not get. And then question trainers 6 and 7, they want you to get 60%, and I was kind of close like around the area, but I didn't get that either. On the first CAT exam, I went all the way to 265, but I got green overall, which meant like pretty good shape to go in and take the NCLEX. I had yellow in all the categories. Then on CAT 2, I had 75 questions to cut off, and it was overall green, and then I was green in management of care and for psychological integrity. So I was doing a little bit better. Then on CAT 3, I had 75 questions and it was overall green, and I had green again for management of care, and then all the other ones were yellow. So I kind of figured out that management of care was my strength. I didn't really use Kaplan's Qbank because I also used UWORLD, which I'll talk about later, but I didn't really use Kaplan's Qbank. I think I did 50 questions, honestly. I didn't really use the Qbank at all. So then basically I had my entire planner scheduled for all NCLEX. I did nothing in June but study for NCLEX, literally nothing. So I would set aside basically the entire day to study. I worked maybe 2 or 3 times a week, so that's basically up to you. If you think that you can juggle working and studying depending on when your test date is, go for it. Like, everyone does their own thing, but I knew I wanted to test the end of June if it was open, which it luckily was. So I just gave all of June to studying for the NCLEX, and I did 8, 9 hours, maybe even 10 hours some days, because Kaplan has this nice thing that I was talking about in the other video, their live reviews. So every night I pretty much was watching a live review, and sometimes they'd be back to back, and I'd be watching 4 videos in one night. So 4 hours of video content every night, basically. So use your resources. If you're going to use Kaplan, don't just do the test. Don't just do the in-person review. You're paying $400. Sit down, look through the channel that they have provided, look through the study stuff that they have, do the Qbanks if you have time. Use everything that you possibly can, because you're paying for it, and it's going to help you in the long run. It's not going to hurt you to watch videos. It's not going to hurt you to do a little bit extra. So basically I did that, and then I tried to do like 75 questions a day, but that did not always happen at all, because if you have Kaplan, you know that the question trainers are long. They have like 100 questions, over 100 questions, and then as you get farther and farther along, it's like 150 questions, 200 questions, 265 questions. So it was hard to balance Kaplan and try to do UWorld at the same time with all these questions, and I'm tired and I have to remediate, and it took me a while to remediate. Getting into remediating, I had this little 3-subject notebook, and I basically wrote down every rationale. Some people say write down rationales that you got wrong. I wrote down everything because I felt like it couldn't hurt. So literally this entire book, it's full. Like, I used every single page of this book. So the front of the book I would use when I'm watching the NCLEX live channel videos, and I would write down everything I didn't know, little tips that they gave. I would take notes while I was in class. I would take notes. And then I had the last 2 sections in the book would be just for remediating and writing down the answers that I got wrong and right. And then just little notes on if I didn't understand something or needed a little bit of extra reminder. I learned by writing and I remember by writing. So I wrote down everything. Like I said before, Kaplan rationales weren't that long, so it wasn't hard to remediate for them, but UWorld's was lengthy, but I felt like UWorld very much so helped. Now I'm going to talk about UWorld. Alright, so UWorld I started on June 1st, I would like to say. So I bought the package that's, I think I paid $179 for it. That's what I paid. It comes with the 2 self-assessments, and then it comes with like 2,200 questions in a Qbank. So the max Qbank that you can do, like UWorld only lets you do 75 questions max, but you can do like 5 questions, you can do 10 questions, you could do 1 question, you could do as many as you want, but the max is for one test is 75 questions. So that's the one downside, because sometimes I'm like, all right, well, if my NCLEX does go past 75, I kind of want to know and practice how it feels to sit for longer than that. And I didn't get to do that with UWorld, but Kaplan was great for that, as far as the amount of questions you could do. But you could always just do another set of 75 after the first set, but I think it just kind of like, it's different. So UWorld I love. The rationales were amazing, and during my test I literally was like, thank you, UWorld, because so many things that came up, they were on UWorld. Like, not everything, and I'm not gonna say everything because it wasn't, like, some of the stuff was just plain random, but there was like 3 to 4 things that like I just kept getting wrong on UWorld, and I'm like, yeah, I can't remember this. It came up on my NCLEX, like the topic, the category, like, and I was like, thank you for that big paragraph that UWorld gave, and that I wrote it out, that I remembered it so I can get the question right. I was so happy. So basically I did that. I tried to do 75 questions a day for UWorld. Like I said, it didn't really happen on days that I was doing Kaplan tests. I tried to do, like, if I couldn't do 75, I would do 20, I would do 5, I would do 10. If I was at work, I would have my phone and I would do like 5 here and there, and I would do 10. On my break, I would maybe do 25 or 30. So it's kind of just fitting in a little bit every day. Like, that's the thing, you need to do something for me, I did something every day. I'm not going to tell you to do something every day, but I was testing in literally a month. So I started studying, I would say May 20th, and I tested June 26th. So I had a month, because some days on the weekend I didn't study, so I would say just a month to study. So on UWorld, I did I did maybe like 975 questions in the Qbank, and I was ranked 63rd percentile. I ranged anywhere from like 40s to, I think my highest might have been like a 70 something on one of the Qbanks. So I thought that was cool. But the first assessment I did for UWorld, it said borderline, and I was like, what do you mean borderline chance of passing? Like, it literally said, we cannot determine whether or not you will pass or you will fail. And I'm like, great. So maybe I should stop doing questions and go over content. And it just freaked me out. I took that 2 weeks for my NCLEX. So I was like, how am I supposed to get all this done in 2 weeks? Like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know why I'm borderline. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I started reading, which is where I come back into this Kaplan book. Get this book. Even if if you don't want to pay for Kaplan class or do anything Kaplan online, get this book. You literally go over every section that you need. I was planning to read the entire thing. I really thought, because I did not read the entire thing. That was not happening. So I just read the chapters that were my weaknesses based off the scoring that I had on every question trainer and test that I did. But get that book. It was only like $27. It's linked in my Kaplan book. It is amazing. It has everything you need to know, graphs, charts. It's great. I'm keeping it forever because I just feel as though it has like the information laid out in such a nice way that you can always look back on it even while you're a nurse. So I will be keeping that. I just try to do maybe like a test a day, and if I had like a big Kaplan thing, I would remediate the next day and just chill out. But also, just word of advice, don't stress yourself out too much. And if you make a plan to do all the questions like I did, like I wanted to do the entire Qbank of UWorld, and I realized that just wasn't gonna happen. And I realized that, okay, some people didn't do the whole thing and they still passed, and some people did it and they passed. So it's really just like up to you. As long as you're remediating and you're understanding what you got wrong and just working on your weaknesses, like that's the only thing I could really stress, is figure out what you're weak in and then go from there. And UWORLD will tell you on the bottom, if you take a Qbank and you scroll down, it'll literally tell you every category, and it'll show you like red and green, and it'll give you a percentage and how you rank based on everyone else who uses the app. And so I saw that maternity was my lowest, and I did all the maternity questions in the Qbank before I took my NCLEX. So just use your weaknesses and figure out what you need to work on before taking it. But don't stress. Incorporate time for yourself and self-care, because the NCLEX is very stressful. It's anxiety provoking and it's scary. It's legit scary. But you can do it. Like, just stay positive, stay focused. Like, it sucked studying for it. It sucked. But you have to think, you put in all that work in nursing school, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, how many ever years you took in nursing school, you worked your butt off to get here, and you made it through the hardest part. So just buckle down, study for a little bit longer, give it your all so you can pass the NCLEX the first time, get your license, and start as a nurse. So just stay positive, do what you have to do. I'm gonna link the song down below that I listened to right before my NCLEX, and it just like made me feel so much better. It's a little religious, so take it or leave it. I feel as though self-care and my religion and everything that I do spiritually helped me get through this NCLEX, and family and friends and just the support. Reach out to friends who are going through the same thing and also studying. I don't think that like family really truly understands unless they're nursing or nurses, because like, oh yeah, you're just gonna pass the test, like you'll do fine, you'll pass, like you're gonna pass. And they don't know that this test could be 6 hours long. They don't know like we have to study every day. So just stay positive and do what you have to do for yourself. So I'm just gonna end it as far as that. If you guys want anything else more, let me know. I think I covered everything that I like. This is also something good I'm going to link down below. It's from Nurses Labs. It's the nursing exam cram sheet for the NCLEX-RN. It has a lot of good things, like little tips, how to position, vital signs, lab values. It has a whole bunch of stuff, so I'll link that down below. I use this. I brought this around to work with me and use that. And then because maternity was so hard for me, and it just was a long time ago that I took it, I had a little printout that like had a whole bunch of like maternity notes, and it was just like the top things you needed to know. And this helped a lot answering questions on UWorld, and I didn't get too much questions on maternity on the NCLEX, so, but it helped. And then I also have this wonderful thing. It's some kind of NCLEX study guide that I found online, and once I read both pages of it, I mean both like packets, it's very big. It was like 30 something pages, I think. Once I read all of it, my scores on the Qbanks and everything kept going up and up and up. So I will link this down below, because this has some tips, some tricks, some mnemonics, some sayings, everything. Like, you know, if you don't learn just by reading it and you need something to like help you remember, this study guide was amazing. So I will link that down below. So I think that's all that I have for you guys. I use Kaplan, I use UWorld, called on Jesus. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do to pass this NCLEX. I believe all you guys can do it. Just stay positive, stay focused, do what you gotta do. If I can do it, you can do it. If everyone else can do it, you can do it. Just have that mindset going in that you will pass and you're going to pass. Yeah, just imagine yourself, just manifest it, let it come to life even before it happens. Don't let the amount of questions determine anything about how you're going to be a nurse, about if you did good or bad. It does not matter how many questions you get. Go in with the mindset of you're going to get 265, so you don't like panic and stress if it does go past 75. You can turn off the little counter. You can turn off the clock so you don't have to see how much time you have left. You don't have to see what question you're on. I just turned off what question I was on and kept looking at it every here and there. And then they give you earplugs if you want them. They give you noise canceling earphones, and I'm telling y'all, I heard my heart in my ears, because I was just like, I'm really taking my NCLEX right now. So I think I might make a new video about how I felt that day, because I don't want this to be too long. It's already long as it is. So if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, tell me all about your NCLEX stories, anything you want in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and I will link everything that I said. I will link so that you guys can have that as a resource to use as well. So don't forget to hit that push notification button to be notified when I make my videos and when they upload. And yeah, have a good one. Simply K, we out. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I passed the NCLEX. I passed the NCLEX. Now I have my life back. Now I have my life back.